Cosplay competition is just an intro to it. Nothing too They asked me to talk about like what it's like, so I'm going to go a little bit into what you basically start with and where you go and what there is. So you have to choose a cosplay first. You need to understand what your cosplay is, what your props are, what the build is. If it's too large, you're going to need to have a handler with you. A handler is someone that has to be with you if you have like an 8-foot sword, or your shoulders are massive because you can't fit through doors. You have to realize that you can't be alone. A lot of them have rules when you go to events because there's just so many people. You need to know what your character is, what your character name, your backstory. So what anime is it from? Is it from Star Wars? Is it from a video game? You need to have the background for it so you can explain it in case they want to know. Or you can do a unique one. People cross them all the time. They gender bend. They do things different with cosplay character. And depending on when you head to an event, like this one here, you have to choose where you're at. So how much have you made? Have you made any of it? Have you made some of it? There's certain percentages. So when you go through your different types of cosplay competition, here there's just two. There's open, so that you basically, you can enter that if you made it or not made it. And then there's craftsmanship. And that is if you made over a certain percentage. I believe here it's 70%. You go to some events, they'll have different percentages. Beginner, which is also novice, might be 50%. As you move up, you might hit intermediate or journeyman, might be 70%. And some of them, when you hit master, it has to be 85%. Or even some people go 100. They make even their own boots. Like that is quite
amazing.
Yeah. And the different types you can get on top of that, which isn't here, is a skit. Now, a skit is also known as like a performance. For that, it all depends on what you do. You can have music. We've seen lots of skits where people have music in the background. They just dance to it. Other ones have a story. They might have a narrator going. Other ones, they actually talk, they sing. There's a whole bunch of different types of this. So basically anything you want. But you also have to realize what your character is. If your character is really aggressive, really high on themselves, like the best thing in the world, you have to act like that. You can't walk on and be all timid and go, whatever. If you have to be like mean, whatever, like you have to be. Are you a villain? What are you? Are you the good guy? You have to know backstory. So that helps with performance, especially with judging. So when you come out there, your poses do they match the character? So you got to understand what that is. So like it's a Shomari that I have. He mainly uses claws, doesn't use his swords very often. So he'll come in and always he'll have the poison claws. So that's what he's using. So a lot of it. So a lot of poses that I do, that. But when he does bring up the sword, it's not very often. You can do different stuff. You can come up, do poses. You have to understand what you want to do. You can come through. And even when you're doing performance, you have to understand what you're doing. Like, how fast can you be? Is it clean? Is it what? Like, you just have to know what the capabilities of your pieces are. This is wood, tatami, but this is basically nothing too special about it, but you have to know if it's going to break. Because some of them are really weak. You may not want to take it out that fast. You might have to go super slow. And then also, what are you doing? If it's a skit, you may want to, if you just anything like that. So, or super slow-mo, you can slow it down. You can be, slow motion actually looks really good also. If you have people taking pictures, people videoing, you have to understand all that. So, I got a bunch of notes, but I'll just add a lot of this. So this, when you're doing craftsmanship, you need a build book. This one is empty right now, but it doesn't have to be anything special. It just has to be a book that you can start putting in what you want to do. So craftsmanship, they're going to do pre-judging. They want to know how you built it. What did you do? Because looking at this, if I built this, you didn't know how I sewed it. You didn't know how I put the fluff into Lord Fluff Fluff. This is a Mocha Mocha Sama. So they want to know, how did you build it? So you can't see that. So you want to have notes when you start of what you want to do. Pictures of your anime, pictures of your sci-fi, pictures of your video game, pictures of your unique character, whatever it is. You can draw it. And then as you build each part, you want to take pictures as you go. So like EVA foam, there's different materials you can use. So Warbler, which is like a thermoplastic, that heat up and cool down and sets. Now that's what a lot of swords are made of, that people make themselves. You can use foam. Like these, this is wood. This is actually quite difficult to make. I would never even attempt this. I would make this out of either foam, or I'd make it out of thermoplastic, which is wood. And I would be a little bit thicker, because when it's thicker, you can actually use foam, floor mats even, to cut out the shapes. And then you'd put your thermoplastic over top, and you would heat it up with just a heat gun, and then you'd cool it with ice water. But there's different types of Warbler. You got colored, you got clear. Now with those, they act differently, and it's a guess and test. So you have to guess and test how fast you can cool it. You're going to wreck some first few times. It happens. And you can also decide what else you're going to make. Are you going to use foam for this? Or are you going to use thermoplastic? Thermoplastic is really heavy for this kind of stuff. So this, just foam. Nothing special about it. Just painted. This is Velcro on the back. Velcro is your best friend when you're putting on armor, putting on anything like that. So again, when you're making this, through the different stages, how did you get the template for this? So you need to know all that. You put all that in your build book. It helps out lots. There's lots of online build books, but if they want it sent in early or left with them, having it on your phone doesn't really help. So you got to keep that in mind for some events. Some will just do a pre-judging where you go in and show them everything. Some want to see it. So you have to understand what you're into. What else do I have? So I was going to talk about other materials you can use also for creating things. You got fascia. Fascia is almost like it's a foam that even your TVs come in. It's a really thin foam that as you heat it, it actually hardens. So it keeps stuff from scratching, but that's not exactly fascia, but you can buy it from, in Edmonton, you got Theater Garage, I think it's Red Moon Cosplay, Calgary, you have Costume Shop, there's a whole bunch of them. You can buy this material, and you can layer it as you heat it to make even this thick. So it might be easier to add things. And if you have any questions, want to take pictures, anything like that, feel free. Just put your hand up. I will stop because I don't want to be talking too fast, but I only have 5 more minutes and then it's question time. So trying to catch us back up from the last one. So other materials you can use, even from the hardware store, foam. That hard plastic or hard pink foam you can get, you can use that to build stuff really cheap, way cheaper than cosplay materials. But you have to realize it's going to be messy. When you start carving that out, it makes an absolute mess. But it works really well. And once you put your primer and your paint on it, you never know what that was. But when you make these, like right now I'm making the Witcher sword, Geralt of Rivia. So that sword, I'm using foam for the base, just for the mold. Thermoplastic, making it in 2 halves. Once that's done, I have to stencil in all the characters that are on the sword. It's going to have lights on both sides with a button. So as I run my hand down the sword, it lights up just like the Netflix series, it goes red. But with that, you have to be careful. Warbler is harder, but it's not unbreakable. So I'm going to have to get a small piece of PVC pipe. Hardware store, best friend. Put that in the center, and that gives it its support. Hence why it's going to have to be a little bit bigger. And you're going to have like something like fascia in there to distribute the light. So those are just some examples of what you can use to build. I'm not going really in depth with this because it's only a 15-minute panel. Other stuff you can use: floor matting, leather, vinyl. Leather gets a little bit more expensive than vinyl, but really well done. If you get even your foam, you can put it over top, and makes armor look so much better. Then you beat it up. That's the one thing nobody likes to do. So you made all this time, all this work. Could take you months. People take 600 hours building this stuff. My sword's going to take me two to three more months. Like, it's not a good process because I'm going to ruin a few. I already know that. So that's just the way it is. But you have to realize what you're doing there. And you also have other stuff like wigs. You have to know your character. Try to get styling. This is a lace front wig, so it's easier hidden to see the line. Now you can get cheaper wigs that are just, so like anything. I used to have a cheap wig with this one. Worked great. So you have to know the budget of how you're going to do your character. Because sometimes when you're doing a competition, they're going to ask, how much did you spend, potentially? Or you can volunteer the information in your build book. People will be impressed if you thrifted lots and built it, because that is almost better than spending thousands of dollars to build something, because it shows creativity. Because this is all about the build, not how you wear it essentially, except how you act with it. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter, like I said before, gender bend. If you're the wrong gender, if you are neutral gender, it doesn't matter. You can be any, but you can make the character your own. You can use the gender of the character. So you have to understand how you want to act in that. But it's just acting. How it looks on you, it's how it's made for craftsmanship, not how it looks on you. So don't be shy coming to these events. Like Otafest, Animathon, they're big anime events, but lots of people that aren't in anime, video games, sci-fi come to it. It's a very welcoming community. So when you, yes, this is a smaller event, but if you're scared to come to bigger events, there's a lot of people, might be overwhelming, but it's really welcoming, especially in the competitions. People like myself, more than willing to ask questions, more than willing to volunteer information. I'm relatively new to this compared to a lot of my peers, but I hit the ground running and it worked out, so now I'm all in. But there's people in this room that I can see that have way more years experience in making stuff than me. I'm very weak at sewing, so we'll see how
we are getting better.
Yeah, but I'm very creative when it comes to wood and stuff, so we'll see how that comes across for the thermoplastics and stuff, because that is more of an art. Like I said, getting the temperatures just right. As you come out to these events, depending on what it is, some have big dollars. GameCon Canada, it's brand new this year, it just happened. They had $15,000 up for grabs for the cosplay competition. But that was craftsmanship only, and they had different levels all the way through, with 3 different levels, but huge sponsors. Most of them that you go to is going to be similar to what you get here. You're going to get just a certificate. But if you're coming into a competition to win, you're not there for the right reasons. Yeah. You're there to learn, to show off what you've done, to meet friends, to mingle. So that's why you're there. If your goal is only to win, well, then you should just be a master and stay there and hope for the best. Because it doesn't matter how good you are, there's always someone better. Put more time, more creative. Because you also have to realize there's judges. They have opinions. It doesn't matter what you think you did. So, best thing to do is go into these just to learn. So, everyone I go into meets someone that does something crazy with leather or warbler. That's where I got the idea from the sword. That a guy from Vancouver that did that with Genshin Impact. Crazy big staff. He had a sword and a staff. Just amazing what he did. So, Otafest this year had a 25th anniversary, so they gave out a little bit more. They gave out these paperweights, essentially. But they're nice. So you have to realize what you're there for. So I wasn't even thinking I was going to win. I was out there to support my children. So over there in the corner. And now she already has they already have my next few planned out. So. But Geralt of Rivia, that's mine. So I'm doing that one first, and then there's My Hero and Hunter that they have groups that want me to be certain characters. Well, we got about 3 minutes left, so we did catch up. Questions? I went through everything really fast, so feel free.
What would you recommend for a clear material that's durable?
Warbler. So thermoplastic. You can get it in colored or clear. And if you need it to change afterwards, then you can always use paints, and you can experiment with a small piece of it. Very thin coats, say if you needed to go silver or something, you can go very, very thin coats so it looks silver from afar, but it's still clear. Because once you heat it, it might fog up a bit. You just have to play with the temperatures. But yeah, warble, it's called like thermoplastic. Amazon has it, all these places have a computer garage, the costume shop.
What would you suggest for a full body suit that's supposed to be metallic or metal?
Ooh. That might just be fabric paint. You might have to use that. The only thing you have to realize, like this here even, this is vinyl. This does not breathe. I have underneath this, I have a mesh lining for bulletproof vest to give me an air gap. So you have to realize that you could make it out of these materials, but it does not breathe. So fabric paint might be the better idea. I see Kiki Kaz over there nodding her head because she's wearing stuff right
This
now.
isn't the one I made. I have another one, but I did paint on it, and I would suggest wearing the bodysuit with painting on it because the fabric can move around so much and bleed through. It may stain your skin a little, but it'll come off eventually.
Yeah, and you can get, with fabric paints, you can also get ones that are more plastic based. So that'll bend. It'll be more rubbery, so you have to realize that also. Because as you're moving, like if it's very stiff, you will just crack it. And then, but it may work for some things, like armor, you want it to look damaged. So if it cracks, if it gets cut, whatever, great. You're good?
What was the first costume you made?
The first costume I made
Yeah.
is Geralt of Rivia. So
Okay.
that one I'm still making. I am a performance cosplayer,
Yeah.
so I am going into craftsmanship now.
Okay.
So Geralt is my first one. That is a big undertaking. I'm making
Yeah.
season 2 from Netflix. Like I said, the sword alone is going to take me, I figured, 2 to 4 months because I'm going to ruin a few with that thermoplastic.
Oh.
So my first one's being made right now. That's why I said there's many people that have so much more experience than I do. And you'll find that even if I had 10 years experience, there's still people like Mall Cosplay that's crazy out of Germany. Like, he does so many things that he's so big now that he has people do his makeup for him that he doesn't have to put it. He has body suits with like muscles and everything get put on. But he doesn't do it himself anymore. He's that big. But we're right on time, so
Yeah.
I know the game panel's coming up and they're going to need lots of time.